Both Ivy Peter and John Wilson were reborn at the same time. Just like in our previous life, John came to marry me with that same hopeful heart. But this time, I refused. John looked stunned. Why? We had 50 happy years together. His confusion was palpable. I shook my head coldly. After being called Mrs. Wilson my whole life, I want my own identity back. The words were bitter but necessary. He didn't understand, thinking this was just a petty tantrum. What could you possibly do without me? You couldn't even get a street sweeping job. John waited for me to come crawling back. Year after year, he watched instead as I climbed to heights beyond his reach. On the day the university appointed John as an honorary professor, which coincided with our would-be 50th wedding anniversary, our sons Tom and Jerry threw a lavish celebration. A young journalist cornered me during the festivities. Her big, innocent eyes darted between our wedding bands. "Mrs. Wilson," she said softly, "would you marry Professor Wilson again in another life?" I knew what she wanted. Our perfect marriage had been grist for the media mill for decades. We were college sweethearts who weathered cultural revolutions together. I raised our children and took care of John's ailing mother, while he rose from poverty to academic stardom. The world saw a lucky woman with a successful husband and sons. None of them saw the invisible burdens I carried beneath that shiny exterior. Before I could answer, John shouldered his way in, holding his whiskey tumbler. Of course she would. My Ivy has had the easiest life. Our sons chimed in like well-trained parrots. Mom hit the jackpot with Dad. Grandpa always said our family was extremely lucky. John's wrinkles deepened with that familiar, condescending smile. She'd chase me down again. My persistent little wife. The reporter gasped dramatically. "Mrs. Wilson pursued you? How bold!" Yes. I'd brought John meals, done his laundry, and nursed him through his illnesses. My boldness became his eternal excuse for my lifetime of servitude. The reporter sighed over this romantic tale, unaware that she was actually applauding my chains. That word bold cut me deeply. Since becoming Mrs. Wilson, all my courage had seeped out of my life. Mary Wilson, my domineering mother-in-law, ruled our household with strict traditions. Every domestic decision needed family approval. Even at this celebration, my opinion was still overshadowed by the Wilson family's expectations. I was always the supporting character in John's spotlight. From the furniture arrangements down to the pillows and bedding in the room, even the fabrics I choose and clothes I make aren't up to me. "This indigo fabric is so outdated and ugly. Wear the blue one tomorrow. Ivy left it by your bedside." Mary Wilson narrowed her slender eyes while reorganizing the closet according to her preferences. "Your pants shouldn't be placed above John's. How can a woman dominate over a man?" "Ivy, I'm not criticizing you, but you're so careless with things." Initially, I protested to John Wilson. He frowned in confusion. "Can't you humor her? Mother knows better about household matters at her age." In that conservative era, I yielded. For decades, I endured Mary's dominance, John's nitpicking, my son's mischief, and daughter-in-law's defiance, retreating step by step until becoming a hollow shell in my own shrunken world. They called this blessings. Seeing the young female reporter's admiring gaze, I couldn't let her live this delusion. "No," I declared firmly, shaking my head. "I wouldn't marry John Wilson again. After being Mrs. Wilson my whole life, I want my own identity in another lifetime." The banquet hall fell silent. The stunned reporter gaped as John's smile froze. "The old girl's still sulking over our tiff yesterday." He chuckled awkwardly, squeezing my hand. Guests laughed while our sons complained, "Mom's always been like this, Dad spoils her rotten." Everyone praised how Professor and Mrs. Wilson still act like sweethearts. In the study, John's smile vanished. "What's your problem, Ivy?" Still upset about making noodles for Lucy Brown last week? His former student Lucy had pursued him passionately, though he claimed they never crossed lines. But I remembered their movie dates, shared meals, and his insistence on adding her name to his research paper. John always maintained his Scales sons. Lifelong wife, stable family, prestigious career, the perfect counterweight to his wandering eyes. John Wilson knew how to prioritize. As the situation spiraled out of control, he coldly rejected Lucy Brown while inviting her to visit our home. Watching him help me in the kitchen and eagerly tie my apron, Lucy fled our house in tears. She transferred schools soon after, vanishing completely from our lives. Last year, Lucy's husband got transferred to John's university. They reconnected, both tactfully avoiding past tensions. During their family visit, Lucy reminisced, Mrs. Wilson's spare rib noodles were unforgettable. I still crave those lunches I shared with Professor Wilson years ago. John waved dismissively. Ivy, make her a bowl. Though there'd been no real misconduct and our son was still young back then, John had claimed the student was harassing him and asked me to intervene. I'd let it go, but cooking for her crossed the line. John gripped my shoulder. I knew you'd hold this grudge. When you feigned headache to avoid cooking, I didn't criticize you, did I? Now you're throwing tantrums over ancient history. He sighed. Like Tom says, I've spoiled you rotten. Must you embarrass me publicly? Later, our youngest son Jerry whispered in the study, Mom, you're acting childish. At least save the arguments for private. Go smooth things over, Sayul, as my son lectured me. I felt disoriented. When did my clingy little boy become this judgmental man? Tom had long stopped his childhood chants of Mommy's the best. I'll buy her everything. Now he sneered, Mom's just a housewife. Her part-time job? Pity employment from Dad's university. We turned out well because of Dad's genes. Mom just rides his coattails. Refusing to placate them, I declared if I could restart life, I'd want independence, my own name and career. Tom snorted. What career? You burn pancakes. John shook his head. Quit the fantasies. Without me, you'd be sweeping streets. Father and son exchanged knowing smirks, their synchronized laughter echoing through the room. Tom Wilson patted John Wilson on the shoulder. They say people become more childlike in temperament as they age. Look at my mother, he said. John forced a smile. Yeah, old and senile now. Completely confused. Since the Wilson family was a respectable one, they wouldn't quarrel at social gatherings. This matter was temporarily set aside. When night fell and the guests departed, John followed his usual routine of reading in bed after showering. After a few pages, he suddenly closed his book. Ivy, he said, were you serious earlier? Do you really not want to live with me anymore? I shook my head again. John froze, his eyes flickering with emotion. After a moment, his calloused fingers stroked my wrinkled hand. I did stray before, but after all these years, you know me, Ivy. You've always been the only one that matters. His voice softened. That was my mistake. We're both at death's door now. Can't you let it go? John Wilson rarely showed vulnerability, only ever apologizing for this particular failing. When he apologized, I was expected to accept gracefully. Refusal would brand me as ungrateful. But this time, I couldn't yield. It's not about that. I just want to live alone, in peace. John's face darkened. What are you dissatisfied with? Haven't I provided well? Whenever you go out, everyone respectfully addresses you as Mrs. Wilson. What more could you want? I don't want to be called Mrs. Wilson. I have a name, Ivy Peter. My voice rose unexpectedly. I won't be your appendage anymore. John stared at me, momentarily stunned before bursting into mocking laughter. Oh, I see. You're jealous of my achievements. Now that I've been named honorary professor. You want recognition too? He clutched his stomach in amusement. A housewife wanting professorship? So that's why you've been so testy today. He waved dismissively. Enough of this nonsense. I know you better than anyone. You can't even handle mice without me. Without my protection, you'd accomplish nothing. His laughter subsided into patronizing finality. If you'd chosen differently back then, you'd have suffered greatly. With your limited intellect, you can't even manage household chores properly. Only I could spoil you this way. Don't be ungrateful. Indignation flared in me. You always call me stupid. But have you forgotten? We were university classmates. I was among the first female college students of our generation. How could I be unintelligent? John snorted derisively. Blind luck catching a dead mouse. If the turmoil hadn't interrupted your studies after freshman year, you'd never have graduated. Enough useless arguments, sleep. He switched off the lamp, plunging me into darkness. He always said I was slow. As a southern girl who couldn't knead dough properly, pickle cabbage, or manage the coal stove. My mother-in-law Mary Wilson used to cluck. A dim-witted daughter-in-law like this would have been kicked out of any other family. John would mediate, saying simple people have simple blessings. The more he repeated it, the more it became accepted truth. Even when our children got into prestigious schools, everyone said they got their father's brains. If they took after mom, they'd be hopeless. I couldn't comprehend how my life became this. When I first received my college acceptance letter, the first female university student from our village ID felt the world at my feet. Back then, I burned with fierce ambition. How did I become such an ordinary, incompetent housewife? Tears streamed down my face in the darkness. Like countless mundane nights before, I sat awake until midnight, drowning in memories of the past and endless regret. A faint glow finally appeared in the distance. Dawn was breaking. Time to get up and make breakfast. Today, my two sons were bringing their children to visit. My grandson loved my steamed buns. My granddaughter adored my century egg congee. My daughter-in-law, who studied abroad, preferred sandwiches. And John Wilson craved hand-pulled noodles. With everyone's different tastes, this would take hours. I threw off the quilt. A figure both foreign and familiar burst through the door. Good heavens! What time do you think it is? John coughed all night. How can you still sleep? Get up! You need to help him finish today's work points. The middle-aged woman in a red floral-patterned jacket carried a wooden basin overflowing with laundry. Her jet-black hair coiled in a bun, cheeks rosy and eyes narrowed. Wash these clothes first. I've got field work to manage, no time for this. I stared at the face that felt hauntingly familiar. My breath caught. Mary Wilson? But she died over a decade ago. After her passing, I'd finally enjoyed a few peaceful years. Why was she here? My eyes swept the crude adobe walls. The three-legged wooden table. The newspaper-patched window. Was this 1970s Mud Creek Village? Realization struck. I'd been reborn. Numbness spread through me as conflicting emotions collided. Mary shoved my shoulder impatiently. What are you gawking at? Always been dim-witted. Even in your youth. Can't imagine why my son chose you. She snapped. Hurry up. Wash these and meet me in the fields. Before bustling away, I stumbled after her toward the well, where several headscarfed women beat laundry with wooden paddles while chatting loudly. Has John fallen ill again? These city-educated youths, delicate as porcelain. Delicate my foot. He's been here 7 years. Can't adapt yet? Poor Ivy Peter, stuck doing his chores again. Poor? With John's looks and education? If his mother weren't so awful, I'd have my daughter do his laundry. I froze. 7 years? I'd been 19 when sent here. 27 when marrying John. If this was year 7, we We weren't even married yet. How dare his mother order me around? Memory fragments surfaced. After escaping my impoverished village to attend university, the Cultural Revolution had stranded me here. John and I were assigned to Mud Creek, his mother's hometown. When Mary followed her son back, her 3 local uncles made their lives easier than other educated youths. I never planned to marry him then. I still dreamed of returning to school. Through mockery and sidelong glances, I'd read textbooks by oil lamp after finishing chores each night. My mother fought for me every day, arguing with my father one moment and my grandmother the next. Like a rooster in a fight, pecking at everyone just to protect my impractical dreams. The day I received my college acceptance letter, she cried tears of joy, reading it over and over before pressing it under the frosted glass on her nightstand. I always knew our girl would make it. She said, "Now you'll become a city dweller with a government job, never needing to farm again." Yet despite all that effort, I simply traded southern farmland for northern fields. I still worked the earth, still felt soil beneath my nails. Years later, kneeling in wheat fields under the same sun that had watched me study, I'd stare at my calloused palms and find the formulas and poetry I'd once memorized now blurred like moonlight on water. My college days felt like someone else's dream. We all believed there was no going back then. Every wall bore slogans about transforming the barren southern lands into green oases, a task too big for our generation. Resigned, I settled into my new reality. In the village, only John Wilson seemed worth knowing. We talked easily, and I deliberately charmed him until we married. Just 1 year later, the policy changed. All educated youths could return to cities with guaranteed jobs. But timing betrayed me. When office officials saw my pregnant belly, they shook their heads. "This factory job requires climbing steel frames at midnight. Mrs. Wilson, wait for the next batch." By the next opportunity, my first son Tom Wilson arrived. Then my robust mother-in-law Mary Wilson suddenly developed headaches whenever cold water or noise appeared. Childcare became mine alone. After my second son Jerry Wilson's birth, 2 screaming boys consumed my days. When they finally entered daycare, Mary suffered a stroke. In that era, hiring help meant being labeled landlord-class trash. So I became nurse, cook, and laundress combined. Years blurred into pre-dawn wake-ups, making congee, scrubbing soiled sheets, rushing to school with toddlers, preparing herbal medicine, wiping an elderly body, then collapsing past midnight only to repeat. The morning I noticed white strands and canyon-deep wrinkles. I stared at the stranger in my mirror, this hollow-eyed woman who'd become someone's daughter-in-law, someone's wife, someone's mother, but never herself. Now they all called me Mrs. Wilson. Where was Ivy? Where was the girl who'd memorized Levi's poems? Clang! The washing bat struck dirty laundry. Lucy Brown nudged me, daydreaming? Hurry, Mary Wilson left you 3 basins. Susan Jing sneered nearby, 30-year-old spinster should be grateful anyone wants her. She'd wash underwear if they asked. I remembered her, the woman whose son I'd refused. My smile tightened as soapy water soaked my shoes. Let whoever wants to wash clothes do it. I don't have time for that. I hoisted my hoe and walked past the well with my head held high, heading toward the collective fields north of the village. Susan Jing froze momentarily before spitting viciously. Humph. Who does she think she is? Just wait until Mary Wilson loses her temper, you'll be crying then. Mary Wilson was already sweating in the fields, her hoe flashing in the morning light. She paused in surprise when she saw me arrive early, wiping her forehead with her headscarf. Finished washing clothes already? Don't tell me you half-assed it again. Did you even use the washing paddle? Those mud stains need proper scrubbing. The middle-aged woman clicked her tongue. Ivy, you need to be more careful with chores. How many times must I remind you? Other villagers kept working but perked up their ears, their faces alight with curiosity. Under their watchful eyes, I walked to my assigned plot. Mrs. Wilson. Self-reliance leads to prosperity. From now on, handle your own household tasks. My energy belongs to developing South Mud Village, not serving as the Wilson family's servant. The crowd drew sharp breaths. In this era, nobody dared contradict quotations from the Little Red Book. Mary Wilson's face flushed crimson. Why you? How dare you? She slapped her thigh angrily. Don't you want to marry John anymore? My son's sick. As his future wife, shouldn't you help out? Our family won't tolerate a lazy daughter-in-law. Villagers rushed to mediate. Mary's just hot-tempered. They counseled me. You'll be living with John soon, shouldn't quarrel with your mother-in-law. I snorted. Mother-in-law? John and I have a purely comradely relationship. Let me make this clear today, I'll never marry him. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Though arranged marriages still dominated rural areas in the late 1960s, free love had become fashionable among youth, especially at collective farms. My courtship with John Wilson was village common knowledge. Mary had already secured a marriage witness. Planning our wedding after the Lunar New Year. Some villagers tried reasoning lovers' quarrels happen. But don't say irreversible things. John's the most eligible bachelor here. If you drive him away. Mary Wilson nearly jumped out of her straw sandals. Who do you think you are? My son will become somebody important. City girls will line up to marry him. How dare you reject us? We don't want you anyway. The commotion attracted John Wilson himself. As he approached the field ridge, time seemed to freeze. The young man's handsome features still carried that familiar affectionate smile, until my words registered. His face drained of color. Ivy, are you still angry with me? One look confirmed it. John Wilson was also reborn. 5 decades of marriage had made us intimately familiar. That refined scholar's demeanor his students admired. Professor Wilson looked so noble. Unlike his wife bargaining at markets, how vulgar. Contrasted sharply with his current rural attire. Yet even in faded army greens, he stood out like a pine among shrubs. Villagers whispered, John looks different today. So handsome. No wonder Ivy chased him. Didn't you hear? She just rejected him. Mary Wilson swelled with renewed confidence. Well, Ivy? Care to repeat that to John's face? I lowered my head and swung the hoe vigorously. The frozen soil mixed with ice shards flew up, and my words scattered like frost into John Wilson's heart. Ivy Peter, will never marry John Wilson again in this lifetime. Without glancing at him, I heard John break into a violent cough as his mother, Mary Wilson, rushed to support him. The crowd bustled around, leading John back to the house until the commotion died down. After finishing the field work, I watched the accountant record my work points. He joked. Why did you suddenly stop seeing John? Aren't you clinging to those daily work points anymore? Flipping through his ledger, he remarked. John's work points were full this month despite his 10-day illness. Yours are only half filled, barely enough to get by. My eyes lit up. Accountant. Since work points are settled monthly, can the ones I earned for John be reverted to me? Well now. He raised his eyebrows. This grudge runs deep. Are you serious? Yes. I won't work for him anymore. After my firm reply, the accountant nodded. Fine. Others are afraid of the Jing brothers. But not me. I'll handle this. If Mary Wilson complains, let her come. The Jing brothers, John's uncles, held influence in the village with their imposing stature. Most of the villagers were decent people, although there was a bit of opportunism here and there. Relief washed over me. In these times, having enough to eat meant survival. Exhausted from work, I found John waiting at my door. He scanned the surroundings before whispering, there were too many ears around earlier. Can we talk inside? I walked in silently. John followed, coughing as he ordered, pour me some water. I stood still. His smile turned bitter. You've been reborn too, haven't you? I knew it the moment I saw you. You used to be so sweet before I spoiled you. How long will this tantrum last? I've told you repeatedly. I snapped. This isn't a passing phase. I want my own life, a career, academic research. I don't want to be trapped in raising kids and serving your mother. John chuckled, then raised his hands in a placating gesture at my glare. You've had it easy. Do you think work is comfortable? Do you think research is simple? You burn pancakes and forget to buy groceries. Leave if you're going to spout nonsense. He sighed. You're being childish. Work for 2 years and then come crying back. I pushed him towards the door. We're done. I'm going to read. John grabbed my wrist, and his eyes softened in the dim light. Ivy, I'd forgotten what you looked like when you were young. His familiar look made my heart skip a beat. Decades of marriage couldn't completely erase all the affection. It was these tender moments that sustained me through years of monotonous marriage. Whenever troubles arose, gazing at John Wilson's face would dissolve most of my anger. Yet here lay our fundamental difference after conflicts. John would coax me into compromise, restoring our peaceful facade, while he never truly conceded. His honeyed words and gentle expressions always concealed velvet-wrapped daggers. Listen to Mother. Go apologize to him. You must lend this money to my brother. Do it for me. Each sugar-coated poison pill chipped away at my edges, eroding my self-respect. What I mistook for love revealed itself in time as mere manipulation. When John leaned in that day, I drew a deep breath and slapped his cheek. How dare you act like a hooligan? Get out! I shoved John through the doorway, slamming it shut. For all our married years, I'd never raised my voice beyond urgent tones, let alone struck him. The humiliated John stayed away for days, granting me peaceful solitude. My days fell into rhythm work shifts followed by oil lamp study sessions. University textbooks became my constant companions. The young mind proved marvelously absorbent, memorizing texts through repetition. How satisfying to disprove John's claims of my incompetence. My heart fluttered with growing anticipation for returning to Beijing. The month's tranquility shattered when Mary Wilson stormed into my quarters, snatching my book under the lamplight. She screeched, "Heartless woman! You took John's work point Swazi to eat? After all his devotion, you'd jeopardize his health? Do you truly mean to reject him?" I hardened my expression. I've said repeatedly we're through. Cease these intrusions. Mary trembled with rage, finger jabbing at my face. Ivy, Peter, have you gone mad? What of Tom and Jerry? If you don't wed John, how will you conceive next year? How will Tom be reborn? I froze. You remember too? Of course. Mary spat. Frankly, you're beneath us. My accomplished son could have any bride. Only for my grandson's sake do I permit this match. Yet you presume to refuse a distinguished professor? Who else would take you? I want neither husband nor suitors. I'll return to Beijing and resume my career. As Mary's eyes narrowed calculatingly, her tone softened. Still bitter about me declining to care for Tom before? My migraines were real. Marry John, bear the children, and I'll mind them while you work. I pointed decisively at the door. Leave now, or I'll call for help. You'll regret this stubbornness. The defeated Mary retreated, hurling final curses. From that day on, I never worked for John Wilson again. I earned my own work points and supported myself. Mary Wilson cursed at me several times. But after John stopped her, she'd only roll her eyes and gossip about me with Susan Jing whenever they met. John came to me repeatedly, facing my cold indifference. His bitter smiles gradually turned into impatience. You really know how to push the limits, Ivy. Even my patience has its boundaries. Don't regret this later. I couldn't be bothered to say a single word to him. Time flew by, and soon I received notice from Beijing that educated youth sent to the countryside could finally return to the cities. This time, my job assignment came after John's. Just like in our previous life, he chose an easy teaching position at a high school while I was assigned the most grueling factory job in the chemical plant's workshop. John frowned disapprovingly. "Director Lucy, isn't this inappropriate? The workshop environment is too harsh for a woman. Can't you find something easier?" His professor-like commanding tone immediately annoyed Lucy. "Who do you think you are, the mayor? Take it or leave it. There are plenty of people waiting in line." I quickly intervened. "Director Lucy, I accept this position. Please ignore him." Before I finished speaking, John dragged me outside. "Ivy, enough of this rebellious behavior." His scolding voice followed the same old pattern. "Chemical workshops can harm fertility. What about our plans for Tom? Don't you want children?" Mentioning pregnancy and Tom again shattered my calmness. "John, are you deaf? I won't marry you. No Tom. No children, just me. Do you understand?" John's face turned bright red. "I've tolerated your whims for a year. You wanted career freedom and I agreed. But this selfishness is going too far. Do you really reject motherhood? What on earth do you want?" "What I want," I stared at his furious face, overwhelming weariness welling up, "is to belong to myself." John always claimed that a husband's glory and a son's future were my crown. But I knew better, those were their crowns. Since marriage, I'd been reduced to nutrient-rich soil. My blood and sweat nourished their splendid blooms while I withered away unnoticed. Occasionally, someone might praise what fertile soil, expecting my gratitude. But why couldn't I be the blooming flower? As John kept lecturing me about my selfishness, I finally raised my hand. "Keep pushing me and I'll slap you in public." His shocked silence was satisfying. I got the workshop job. John remained the respectable teacher while I became the dirty factory worker constantly wearing a mask against the chemical fumes. When Mary Wilson heard about it, she nearly laughed herself sick. Knew she'd fail. In the last life, she rode on her coattails and still complained. That workshop will break her within 3 months, then she'll beg John to marry her. She was wrong. I spent 2 years working at a chemical plant, diligently performing my job while preparing for graduate school entrance exams. Having majored in chemical engineering during undergrad and demonstrating exceptional work ethic, I was consistently recognized as an outstanding female worker. After passing the exams, the plant leadership decided to sponsor my graduate studies. Coincidentally, John Wilson had also been admitted to Tsinghua University's graduate program, where we unexpectedly reunited on campus. John was visibly shocked. "Ivy, what are you doing here? Did you come specifically to find me? How did you know I study here?" He looked me up and down before straightening his posture with evident pride. In our previous lives, my alma mater had been significantly inferior to Tsinghua. This institution wasn't accessible to just anyone. After completing my master's, I plan to join the faculty here. My trajectory will surpass anything from before. His lips curved mockingly. Couldn't handle factory life anymore? I must admit, lasting 2 years was impressive enough. Lush trees surrounding the lotus pond created an emerald canopy over John's head, their dappled shadows dancing across his angular features. Smiling faintly, he extended his hand. "These past 2 years, I've been waiting. If you simply apologize properly." My mother Mary sighed. The class bell interrupted him. Brushing past, I hurried toward the lecture hall, leaving John stunned behind me. John finally acknowledged my legitimate status as a Tsinghua graduate student during the annual freshman convocation when I took the stage as the student representative. Under the spotlight, our lifelong dynamic reversed, me commanding the podium, him seated below, squinting up with confused disbelief. After 2 lifetimes, he finally saw me as an equal rather than an accessory, his gaze now containing hints of upward respect. "You've changed. Ivy, John remarked contemplatively afterward. I think I understand what you've been pursuing. You've always been fiercely driven. I shouldn't have belittled you before. When I called you simple-minded, that was really my clumsy way of expressing affection. His mouth twisted wryly. I concede you're not simple at all. Your exam scores dwarfed mine. You're remarkable. Will this acknowledgement satisfy you? Wasn't this validation the entire purpose of your efforts? Clutching my textbooks, I sidestepped him. John, you completely misunderstand. This was never about your recognition. My words hung in the air as I walked away. It's not nearly enough. I want the world to witness my capabilities. John stood frozen until his attention snapped to the vigorous young man entering the library. You've deceived me, he accused, his complexion paling. This was always about David Clark, wasn't it? David, 8 years our junior, had achieved early entry into the Chinese Academy of Sciences Institute of Chemistry in our previous life, the pinnacle every chemistry student aspires to reach. I'd once scalded John's hand while transfixed by David's televised scientific breakthrough. Pathetic! John had raged then. A grown woman gawking at some young, now. Decades later. His voice trembled with fury. You've been fixated on him all this time? You're utterly. David Clark was fortunate. During the turbulent years. He was still in junior high when classes were suspended. Roaming the streets having fun. Unlike us who wasted so many years in rural labor camps. He entered graduate school young and vibrant, we were classmates. Yet he always respectfully called me senior sister. Senior sister. I saved your seat. Still studying till 9? Want me to bring you dinner? John Wilson charged over and grabbed his collar. Ivy is my wife. You pretty boy. Don't even think about it. David Clark retaliated by punching his nose. Who's pretty? You're the lunatic here. They brawled until campus security intervened. Both received stern warnings but avoided disciplinary action thanks to their contrite apologies. Through this, David learned about John's and my shared history in the countryside. He scoffed. Petty jealousy. You should have dumped that kind of man ages ago. I treated it as trivial drama. But John was devastated. Despite my repeated rejections, I'm not interested in marrying you, he'd never taken me seriously. David's presence finally convinced him. To John, apparently, only another man could shatter his delusions. Red-eyed, John cornered me outside my dorm. Ivy, his voice broke. 50 years of marriage. How could you care so little? Weren't we happy? How could you love someone else? I'm the professor here, I never mocked your simplicity or incompetence. Why are you abandoning me? His fragile ego lay in ruins. I stared back coldly. I'm neither simple nor incompetent. You think me foolish because you trapped me in roles I never chose, playing servant to your family for half a century. You were happy. Not me. He clenched his fists. Unhappy? Did I starve you? Leave you destitute? I laughed bitterly. I could have worked for myself. Marrying anyone else wouldn't have left me hungry. Why claim credit for what I already possessed? We had nothing left to say. I retreated to my dorm while he lingered outside until security chased him away. The next day, Mary Wilson, John's mother, stormed in. Shrieking, "You've wasted my son's prime years. He's 30, are you trying to end the Wilson family line? Find someone else to incubate your heir." I snapped. Your family legacy means nothing to me. As Mary ranted about me being an unwanted spinster, David Clark appeared in the doorway. Ivy, care to catch a movie tonight? Mary's face purpled. You homewrecker. You, David Clark snorted. Watch your damn mouth. I just beat up John Wilson yesterday. Don't make me hit you too, I've got no rules about not hitting women. In his youth, David carried a rebellious edge. Towering half a head taller than John, his green military uniform sleeves were rolled to his shoulders, revealing defined muscles. Mary Wilson ducked her head nervously. Young man, don't let her fool you. She's 30, been married before, and has 2 sons. David shrugged. So what? I like older women. Mom, cut it out. John stumbled in, face pale, dragging his mother away. He shot Ivy a desperate glance, tears falling. Ivy, if you choose him, I'll step aside. As the Wilsons left, Ivy turned to David. Why stir trouble? Were you trying to provoke him? Damn right. I wanted to piss him off. After a pause, Ivy clarified. I've never had children. David's eyes lit up, grin spreading. Don't care. Ivy. I think you. Ivy cut him off. Your thesis has flaws. She understood his intentions, but romance was the last thing she needed while pursuing her doctorate. His gaze dropped. Fine. We'll talk later. Partly spiteful, John hastily married a sophisticated city girl from a good family. Within a year, they had a son. He regained some spark, deliberately parading the baby before Ivy at Tsinghua. When are you and David getting married? Ivy? By then Ivy was pursuing her PhD. John's life diverged from his previous trajectory. His wife refused to quit her prestigious job for childcare, dumping the baby solely on Mary. With migraines resurfacing, their household descended into chaos. Juggling work and parenting left John no time for academic advancement. He remained optimistic. A few years' delay won't matter. Having secured a lecturer position at Tsinghua, he considered himself victorious. You're not getting younger. Shouldn't you push David? Wait too long and you'll miss your childbearing window. Ivy kept writing notes. He's taking his girlfriend to the movies. David and I aren't involved. John gaped. You never got together? But he said. I refused him. My focus is on academics. His confusion deepened. Ivy. I truly don't understand you. Why? A woman who doesn't want a family, children, or even a lover? No one to love her, how lonely and empty her life would be. I set down my pen and looked at him seriously. Must a woman have love? Since childhood, all the movies, novels, and societal norms have drilled this idea into us. Little girls grow up dreaming of Prince Charming, while boys fantasize about adventures and conquering the world. But why? Is love truly that crucial for women? Can't a woman be self-sufficient, have her own integrity, and live a peaceful, fulfilling life without it? I married for love. I devoted my life to John Wilson. And to be fair, he loved me too. But did that bring me happiness? His love meant bearing his children, managing his household, leaving everything familiar to join his family, grinding down my edges until I was bloodied and scarred just to fit in. Compared to most women, I had it better. Yet I was still unhappy. Only those who benefit from the system keep preaching it, pushing you to make choices that serve them. Why should I play by these rules? John froze briefly, then sneered in that familiar way. If not love, what should women want? Power, status, money, influence. Those are the things women have lacked for millennia. I mirrored his scoff. Never mind. You wouldn't understand. I'm leaving to study abroad. We likely won't meet again. I walked away. And even from a distance, I could see John still holding our child, stunned and rooted in place. After earning my degree, I solved a major technical challenge within 2 years, winning national acclaim. That same year, I joined the Chinese Academy of Sciences and collected international honors. By my early 40s, prime time for a woman, John had aged into a shell of himself. Exhausted by raising our 2 sons, he'd abandoned his academic ambitions. He remained a lecturer but grew error-prone. The university warned him repeatedly about incompetence. If this continues, they said, we'll reassign you to an administrative role. During one such reprimand, the office erupted in chatter. The department head rushed forward, eagerly shaking my hand. Professor Ivy, we agreed I'd send someone to the airport at 4. You shouldn't have come yourself. Driving was easier. I replied politely, then spotted John, pale, shoulders hunched, trying to vanish. Mr. Wilson's here too? The head remarked. Do you know each other? I nodded. Old acquaintances. The head grinned. Perfect. Join us for dinner tonight, Mr. Wilson. We're hosting Professor Ivy's welcome banquet. She's our new honorary professor this year. John trembled, staring at me wordlessly before finally muttering, I can't. Need to pick up the boys. Another time. He fled. Unsteady. The head scoffed once he was gone. Pathetic. A man dragged down by domestic chaos. His wife is someone I know. I cut in. She's diligent and ambitious. When a woman is shackled by family, it's expected. But when a man suffers the same, everyone pities him and blames her. What did she ever do wrong? She just did what any man would do. The director forced an awkward laugh in agreement. Even Professor Ivy approves. So it must be truly remarkable. Haha. On the day I received the Nobel Prize, the university held an extravagant press conference. I sat on the stage. The Wilson family sat in the audience below. Mary Wilson's eyes burned with resentment. What's so great about her? No one wants an old spinster anyway. Tom Wilson and Jerry Wilson, John Wilson's 2 sons, retorted. Grandma, you're being ridiculous. At her level, what man could possibly match her? Mary huffed. What level? Back then, I made her wash dishes and do laundry. She didn't dare say a peep and obeyed my every word. Dad, take Grandma to the hospital. She's clearly delusional. Tom Wilson snapped. Jerry Wilson added. You're losing it, Grandma. Mary bristled. How dare you speak to me like this? Your mother ruined you both. Can't even get into a decent high school. My old grandson graduated from a top-tier university. You don't deserve names like Tom and Jerry. You good-for-nothings. Lucy Brown, John's wife, fired back. How did I ruin them? Have you no shame? Who took care of you during your stroke? You're ungrateful. As the argument escalated, audience members turned to stare, and security moved toward them. John flushed crimson. Quiet! This isn't the place for this. Get out if you can't behave. The room finally stilled. John gazed up at me under the spotlight, eyes glistening. During Q&A, he leapt up and grabbed the microphone. Ivy, Professor Ivy. Let me ask you, his eyes flickered toward his sons before landing on me. Do you consider your life complete? No marriage. No children to carry on your legacy. Don't you regret it? I looked up at the crimson banner overhead. Warm congratulations to Chinese scientist Ivy for winning the Nobel Prize. Smiling, I answered. No. I don't have biological children. But I have them. I gestured to the crowd. Most here are my students. They read my books, study my research, attend my lectures. They don't share my DNA. But they think like me. Genes fade across generations. But civilization's brilliance endures. My life? Utterly fulfilled. Thunderous applause erupted in the hall, reverberating long and loud.